Hi, good night, everyone. Ayana here, the Configure 868. And tonight we have a special edition, a special series actually, where we are going to be discussing um, a book, Fly, with my coach, my swim coach actually. We'll get more into that. And with men in mind. So we're going to be discussing having a male guest. It's at a later time. My guest actually requested it, and I obliged because I was so excited to get him onto the show. And I said, let's get this done. So it's going to be about men. It's going to be about what his book is about, and we're going to learn a bit more about him. The funny thing is, it's so weird for me to call him by his first name, Fabian, because I call him Coach. I met Coach when my kids and I and my sisters decided to do swim class with him, and of course the kids loved it. I think I loved it a bit more. Um, yeah, kind of embarrassed to say that I was hugging the pool at some point in time, and then after a few classes, we actually got into a discussion, and he mentioned that he was getting into the coaching side of things, and I was like, oh yeah, well I already coach. And he was like, no, So and I realized it was personal development coaching and stuff, and I was like, yeah, well, I kind of do a little something like that, and whatever. And I told him I said about the conflict girl, and his reaction blew my mind. He's like, yes, I know you, I follow you, and I was like, yeah, oh my god, I have a fun, whoopee. And so we got to discussing. He told me more about his book that he is actually in the process of publishing, Fly. And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I do a show, Women in Business, and there are sometimes I actually try to focus on our male counterparts, right? And give them that, try to be as fair as possible. And I said I would love for you to come on. So we were trying to figure out a date and time and stuff like that. And it so happened that my guest for earlier tonight at 6, she could not make it tonight. So I was like, okay, definitely perfect time. Let's bring him on. So let me add in Coach for you guys, Mr. Fabian De France, and let him add to the conversation. Hi,
Hi,
Coach. Good night.
hi, good night. Well, that was a good introduction, Ayana. I like how you covered the whole topic of how we met, doing coaching, film coaching. I was wondering, would she mention that? How do we get around to navigating that little introduction there? You know, so it's all good. I'm excited to be here. I'm happy that
Mhm.
you have included me, a man, on the show, right? Having discussed the fact that the show is mostly geared towards women and women in business. Because
Right.
I think too often, I mean, women have their forum and everything to where they meet and they discuss different issues affecting women, and quite often men are left out of the discussion. And we ask the question, what are men's role in society? And what is happening with the men, and um, how many forums do men have to actually create a space where they can come and speak things that are important to them, and to
Mhm.
add to the whole, scope of what's happening in Trinidad and around the world today. So thanks for including me. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited, and I look forward to this session.
Great. Good to hear. Now, um, the fact that I'm a gender studies student, I will be a little, how to put it, facetious when I say men do have their forums, but I do try to be fair, because as much as I would like to push women in business, as as a woman, a single mom and stuff like that, I really try to push it. I try to give the gentleman a hearing as well, because there is a lot to add. We need to coexist, men and women. I mean, it's obvious, but so I did an introduction of how I met you with the swimming aspect of it, but there's so much more to Fabian De France, guys. So, Coach, if you would like just to give us a little introduction of yourself, because I know you're a logistics supervisor with a large organization here locally. If you want to tell us a bit more about yourself.
Right. So yes, definitely. I'm employed or have been employed for the past 14 years in the field of logistics. So I'm presently or currently um, serving in that capacity as a logistics supervisor with a big distribution company. I won't mention the name. For those who are in my circle and those who know me well know what company is that. So I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
that for the past 14 years. Um, I hold a bachelor's degree in occupational health and safety, and I'm not ashamed or afraid to say it. I went after that course, or I studied that course based on the fact that um, a lot of people was getting into it at that time. There was a wide following for that for that field of study, health and safety. I was new to Trinidad, and I went after that course of studies because I felt as though I would like it and to get into the field. Of course, it was offering a high package to be a safety officer, and I spent a minimum of probably 5 to 7 years studying from associate level to the bachelor's degree level. And the funny thing is, when I finished, when I actually acquired my degree, I was like, at that point in time, I felt like, am I going to do anything with this? I had, I spent so many years in studies, and here, for those who have a degree and trying to balance work and studies and and run a family at the same time, it's not easy. Let me tell you, it was crazy trying to balance. And then my kids um,
Mm-hmm.
had extracurricular activities going on. They were involved in swimming. They had
Mm-hmm.
school going on. My daughter was preparing for SEA, my first daughter, and of course was working. And it was very challenging. And at the end of it, having spent so much time and effort and all that energy to acquire the degree, I I would have applied to certain industries, right, in the field of health and safety. But I did based on the fact that well, I had a degree and I like, well, okay, I need to do something with the degree right now. But it was never it never seemed as though it was my passion. I never felt as though I was happy to pursue that field in itself. I acquired a degree and I was, of course, happy to have a degree to say, well, okay, health and safety, occupational health and safety. I now have a degree and I can boast about that. But it was never my passion. I never felt, that I wanted to go in that direction, having attained the degree, right? And then, of course, my kids were involved in swimming. And I said, you know what, since they are involved in swimming for over 5 years, why not go and get certified as a coach and, and add value? Because I looked at what was being offered. I looked at the coaches that we have, the complement of coaches that we have in Trinidad, and what they were offering. And I sat one day and I said to myself, I think, you know what, I can do that. I'd always liked water from a young child growing up. I'd always liked water, loved going to the beach, loved being in a pool and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
it dawned on me, I said, since my kids are involved in this sport, why not take it further? Why not actually become certified and teach swimming? And so that took place like around 2014, 2015. So I've been a swim
Okay.
coach for 6 or 7 years, and
Mm-hmm.
totally to see a kid that now comes to the pool, very afraid of the water, or even adults, very afraid to actually, go in the pool and move from one end to the next. And
Next,
then, yeah, and within a short space, a few weeks or a couple of
they
months,
get it.
they get it. And they not
Yeah.
only get it, they swim like a fish, right?
Oh,
They swim like a fish.
I think there's only how to put it, remiss of us to shout out Amelia, my sister, at this point in time, as we're talking
Yes,
about adults at the
yes.
fair. Hi, Amelia. I
She
know
came to
she's tuned
mind.
in tonight.
Yeah, she came to mind. Hi, Amelia.
Yes, she will be one of the persons. Now I heard you mention your passion, and you studied, and you found that you were not as passionate about it. Then you got into the swimming and stuff like that. And I could no first let me even go back a step. Studying, kids, working, right? Most of my guests who have had any show ask me that is what we actually do. And you said is tough. It's actually tough doing. I'm currently still enrolled in UWeek pursuing a research degree. And it is hard. I have to actually take a break because it's so much. So to hear you say that, I was like, yay, a champion. We understand. He understands our plight. Right?
Definitely.
Now let's go back to Amelia is saying, oh my God, seriously? So I have hope. Yes,
You do.
Amelia, I think you have hope.
You have plenty of.
Yeah. So let's go back to that passion. So that passion led you to become certified as a swim coach, right? So you started training and coaching other persons to swim, notably basically my two sisters, but half of my family basically, and so many other people because we now on the scene basically, right? So having done that, were there any like great moments that you could bring to mind, like getting into the swimming and actually getting into doing something that you're passionate about, you'd like to share with us?
Of course, life is a journey. Life is a journey.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when you decide to do something, one of the biggest lessons I've come to learn is that we don't lose in life, right? We don't ever lose in life, and it's all in the mind. It's a mental concept. It's a mental block that we lose because we go after something and we don't get the result first time maybe, and we think that we have failed in our efforts, and we may give up or we may say that was never meant for me. But we never lose actually. And once you come to that understanding, once you reach that place that if you don't get what you want in life, you are going to get a lesson, right?
Mm.
So if you don't get the outcome that you first set out to get, try and look for that lesson. Ask yourself some
Right.
critical questions. What
Right.
did I learn in this? And I have learned so many lessons during the course of me actually being a swim coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up to this present day as we speak right now. You know, the, not only am I a coach, but I even went further, right? And registered my very own swim club in Trinidad and Tobago. I
Okay.
am one of the youngest. I have one of the youngest clubs, if not the youngest club in Trinidad and Tobago in the swim fraternity. In the whole
Okay.
association, I have the youngest club called Bluefins Aquatics, formed back in 2016, right? And uh, it's very, very humbling, the
Mm-hmm.
journey into getting into business and pursuing your goals and your dreams is very humbling. And it brings you to a very vulnerable stage in life where you have to depend on a source that is much greater than you because so many people you look to
Mm-hmm.
for support and people that you expect to get support from sometimes
Mm-hmm.
are the very same ones that disappoint you. And it's the
Yeah.
one sometimes strangers and people who come into your life that really add
Mm-hmm.
value and help you to get to where you exactly want to go. So let
Very
me
true.
go back. When I first started my club, there were many things that were said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember calling the admin of the swim association and I said, well, I'm forming my own club. And his reaction
Mm-hmm.
was, you forming your own club? Like this big shock reaction is like, yeah, I'm forming my own club. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so often we get reactions like this, and
Mm-hmm.
these reactions in life really serve a purpose. It could either break you or it could propel you to really strive to go further, to
Yeah.
build that strength to get to where
Mm-hmm.
you really want to go. So I formed the club. Many people had a lot of things to say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was facing a lot of competition. Being the youngest club, I came up against clubs that were already 20, 25, 30 years in existence within the swim
Wow, and you just
fraternity
started in 2016.
with a few
Wow.
swimmers. And let's say a
Wow.
handful of swimmers. And and I remember going to these swim meets, my first swim meet, second swim meet, and feeling like, okay, this is just Blueprints Aquatics with a handful of swimmers. And then when you look across to another club that has been in existence for 30 years, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have like 5 times the amount that we have. But little by little, I stuck with it, right? With all the negatives and all the challenges and everything, I stuck with it. And we qualified our very first national swimmer in 2019, right?
Wow.
Went on to represent Trinidad and Tobago at the Goodwill
Uh-huh.
Games in Suriname.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was,
Excellent.
thank you. And that was the start, or was supposed to be the start of a great run
Mm-hmm.
because from 2020 last year, we had another swimmer ranked second overall in her age group, right?
Wow.
Ready, and she was going to make the national team, right, come 2020 for that same
Lovely.
Goodwill Games.
Lovely.
But of course, COVID hit, right?
Yes.
And trust me, that if it's one thing that COVID, the whole pandemic did for me and caused
Mm-hmm.
the most pain was that because this
Yeah.
was a young swimmer who turned competitive 3 years. So this
Mm-hmm.
was her third and final year in that
Mm-hmm.
age group, and she was bound to represent Trinidad and Tobago. And then COVID-19 hit, and I was like, oh my
Oh my
goodness,
gosh. Yeah.
right? So
Now, I have
yeah,
a question for you. Sorry to interrupt. Now, we're
sure.
talking about COVID, and we know COVID shook everything up. It brought a lot of disappointment, but a lot of opportunities. But I want to tie that in what you said earlier. you go to your lessons, learning lessons. And I have a guest I have a question for you.
Right?
Um, and what he's saying is he would like to know from you, coach, how did you manage the feeling of rejection when you were not being offered a role and with the family to feed? And how did you manage your feelings while pivoting with the bachelors that you had? And then going into the swimming and stuff. How did you manage that whole situation?
Well, let me take it from the standpoint of forming the club blueprints aquatics.
Okay.
I knew exactly what I was coming up against.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there were people that were not in approval of me forming my own club. I
Okay.
knew that people were saying certain things behind the scenes, and of course, it came back to me through my parents and so forth. One of the remarks was, "We don't have what it takes to make a national swimmer," right?
Okay.
And you laugh at these things because when you do achieve it, it's like, okay, what are they going to say next? You say
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do X, you went and do it, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
show them that it could be done. Okay, what are you going to say next? You laughed at me, okay, when I formed my club, and they looked at
Mm-hmm.
my swimmers, and we had all most of our swimmers were now starting out in the sport of swimming. So we had to build swimmers from scratch and get
Okay.
them up to that standard where they could qualify and compete with the other
Mm-hmm.
swimmers of all these other clubs and get them to a level of
Mm-hmm.
making the national team.
Okay.
So the most important thing that one must understand is your
Uh-huh.
why. Three-letter
Your
word,
why. Mhm.
know your why. Your why is going to keep you when everything else fails. When you get all the no's, when you get everybody coming and then leaving, and then they have X or Y to say about you, or they just don't believe in you. It's your dream. The dream was given to you, right, for the sole purpose of you following that dream. It's nobody else's dream, it's yours. So you have to
Okay.
take it and mine it and carry it forward.
So I guess we get to sum it up your answer and to answer the question, know your why. This why is what will take you through the process of rejections, of doubt, of pivoting from one angle to the next. And this is something that we all had to do with COVID. We needed persons who had a brand, who had a business, who were venturing into some sort of opportunity, had to know why they were doing it. And this would allow all of us, because even myself, how can we pivot to maximize on a situation that is currently going on? So we have to know what our why is. And I love that. That is very poignant right now. We need to know our whys.
Yeah.
So in knowing your whys and all the doubting Thomases and stuff, and finally you said you represented Trinidad and Tobago in the Goodwill Games. How did you feel at that moment? You were actually there in Suriname. I mean, how did you feel?
Okay, well, just one correction. I actually didn't go to Suriname. My summer went to Suriname.
Well, you were
Yeah,
there. You were there in spirit, and it was your
yeah.
swimmer who was there representing you. I mean, from Bluefins Aquatic. I mean, still, how did you feel?
Great, great, great. And great. It was a great achievement. It was like, okay, what are they going to say now? They can't say, well, we don't have what it takes to qualify as swimmer anymore. So what are
Mm-hmm.
they going to say
To
now?
say
Right?
no.
And it was like, bring it on. You say
Okay.
what you have to say, and these things are actually or could be used to propel us forward. It strengthens us. You can allow it to
Right.
demotivate it. You can allow it to discourage you, or you can use it as a source of energy to take you to
Okay.
where you want to go. So it was pretty exciting, right? Let me just
Mm-hmm.
quickly say, during the course, because this was a 5 day or 4 day competition, and each
Mm-hmm.
night these kids had to go and swim one race or two races, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the very first night this young man swam, right, in his first race. His
Uh-huh.
first race was not to the best of his ability. And then came
Right.
the second race. And I remember even the second race was worse than the first one. And he really didn't gain any points in his second
Uh-huh.
race because the top 8 is what achieved points. And I remember the dad just so broken that night that he had to take himself and step aside. And I looked at him, his father, and I realized that he was broken. He was like, I don't think my son is going to make it, right? And
Oh.
I didn't tell him anything that night. I
Mhm.
went home and I started to tally all the marks of my swimmer and the other swimmers. And I told him,
Right.
listen, and I told him that night, because not are you're not there just to encourage yourself. You have to find the strength to encourage you, and you also have to
Uh-huh.
find the strength to encourage others when they at their lowest, right? And
True.
I looked at his dad, and and he was broken that night because his son was so capable of doing better. And
Right.
I reached home the night, and I told him, I said, listen, he is going to make it. Have no doubt
Mhm.
about it. He is
Yeah.
going to be he is going to be on that team. On
Uh-huh.
that team. Sorry about that, right? He is going to be on that team. And I told him, listen, next day you come, I don't want you down on the deck. You go up in the
Yeah.
stand. I think you
Right.
adding some pressure. I think you adding some pressure to my swimmer. Go up in the stands and everything will
Uh,
be okay. He took my advice and
Uh-huh.
the rest is history.
Well, let me tell you something. I have a message here, and Victors are listening. They actually tuning in, right? And we
Yeah.
both know who they are.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
we have quite a few gentlemen tuning in tonight, Coach, I should say, including
Awesome.
Elijah, my son.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
we have a question for you, another question by Mr. Neil
Yeah.
Cumberbatch. He said, I'm on the verge of setting up a storefront variety store. What advice would you give? He's asking for
Again,
advice.
the first question, you are this is your goal, this is your dream, right? You need to understand that there are going to be many challenges. At the end of it, whether your store, your variety store becomes a smashing success, or somewhere down in the middle of it, you realize that it may not be the best, or it's not bringing you the returns that you thought that you would get. You need to understand that you could always switch. You can you can edit, you can add, you can take out. You can say, you know what? Listen, probably this was not the best idea, but know for certain that you are going to learn. Let me tell you something. You are going to become so clear as to who are for you and who are not for you. You are going to
Mm-hmm.
learn so many different things in starting a business. They say if you really want to know your friends, start
Self
a
business.
business. Start a
Yes.
business. You'll know who your
Mm-hmm.
friends are, and it's nothing personal because again,
Mm-hmm.
you have your dream. This is your dream, and you have to know your why from day one. And when the challenges and all the obstacles come, what
Mm-hmm.
is going to keep you is your why. Why are you doing this?
Yeah,
So
I
that's my
agree.
advice
And
to Mr. Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch, and just to add to it, you're on the verge of setting up, what I'm understanding, you're on the verge of setting up from a business perspective as well. What you need to know is a storefront. So that will involve overheads. So you need to really have an idea of what your cash flow is like. You really need to have a clear idea as well as what the market would require, and take into consideration that we are still in COVID. Yes, we are going to come out of it soon. Try to get an understanding of what the market has become with the onset of COVID, and that will help with market research. And market research can be a simple thing. You can use something like Survey Monkey. Again, use your network, right? Your friends, families, and stuff like that, and ask questions. Find out what it is. Get an idea of what your market would really require, understand what your cash flow is, what you will have to invest, and go for it. And like Coach said, know your why. Why are you getting into this? What is your passion? And move on that. And once you move on that, I think you'll be fine. So good luck in your
And
storefront.
definitely. And let me quickly add to that, Ayana. You are going to become a better version of yourself because you're going to add to your skill set. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
In order for your business to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
you are the business. You are
Mm-hmm.
the face. You are the brand of that business, and it will require you reaching to another level or becoming another version of yourself. So definitely, your skill set is going to increase. It has to
Mm-hmm.
in order for you to be
Mm-hmm.
successful, as Ayana pointed out. So hey, great journey. Enjoy the
Go for
journey.
it.
Don't just look at the final destination. Enjoy the
Mm-hmm.
journey.
And one of our viewers actually added her piece as well and said a strong capital is the foundation. So you see, we already have a little network here, train out advice for you guys. Keep the comments coming. We really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Now, we have spoken
Yeah.
about your job as a logistics supervisor, the degree we led up to Buffin's Aquatics to the point where you actually represented in Goodwill Game, which I find is like awesome. So let's get to the, how to put it, the big thing, the big ticket item in my book. Fly. What led you to write a book? Huh? Are you there, Coach? Okay, we may have a bit of a difficulty right now. So let's give him a minute to see if he's going to
Of
get
course.
back on.
This is the part. This, yeah, I'm definitely here. I'm hearing you.
Okay, great. Right. So what led you to
Yeah.
the decision to write the book?
Are you hearing me, Ayana?
Yes, we are.
Right. Right. So, in a short, in a nutshell, COVID,
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, right? The
Okay.
uncertainty that the pandemic brought, of course, we were working, and then we were put on rotation. So I was spending a lot of time home, like 3 times. You work one day, you're home the next day, and so forth. I was like, with all the conspiracy theories and all the things that they had to say about this pandemic, because here it
Mm-hmm.
is, they was telling you about the pandemic and the seriousness of this pandemic. And then on one side, you hear about all these conspiracy theories and things, and it's like, what to believe? Is the
Mm-hmm.
world coming to an end?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to die? Is a
Mm-hmm.
relative of mine going to die? Is going to X, Y, and Z? So it brought a whole lot of uncertainty. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves. Yes, it disrupted our lives to a
Yes,
great, great extent.
it
And
did.
like I said, it disrupted my plans for 2020 with my summer, set to qualify for the national team. And that hurt. That brought some emotional, emotions attached to it of that experience. And it was like, how do I deal with this uncertainty? I'll be honest. What I started to do is is cut grass. Yeah, coach was cutting grass. I was planting in my backyard, right?
Uh,
I think a lot of people reverted to that. A lot of people
mm-hmm.
started planting. So
Yeah.
I was cutting grass and planting, my crops, planting tomato trees and soursop
Mm-hmm.
trees and everything. But then,
Wow.
but then to go to the long side of why or what
Mm-hmm.
led me to write this book
Mm-hmm.
was based on a personal experience of mine 5 years ago that led me or pushed me into the direction of forming my own swim club. And then during that or coming out of that experience that caused a lot of stress. We call it stress in Trinidad, but it
Yeah.
also went to the stage of causing some depression, a level of depression, 5 years
Okay.
ago. And what happened is that I began reading books. And in a short space of about 6 months to a year, I read about 15 books. And it
Wow.
seemed to me,
Okay.
it seemed to me that everything had stopped in my life during that period, 5 years. And the space had just opened up for me to start reading these books. And one book just led to another book that led to another book. And every author from one book would reference the author of another book and the experience or what they learned from this other author and stuff. And I remember reading and also hearing that there's a book in all of us. We all have our personal experiences. We all have been through life. We have our ups and downs and everything like that. And we have a book in us. Now, I became a cynic. And when you look at, I often look at these actors and these movie stars and these singers and thing, and quite often you when you do hear about them, they have some sad story and they always have some past, some deep pain that they experience. I was like, yeah, right. So that is to me, it came across as though that story was just added to help sell movies or to sell records, and that's how cynical I became, and
Yeah,
the
I see people
truth
do. Yeah.
is, it's proven in life that most people don't get to that place of looking inwards and searching in their heart counterparts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until they reach that point where they face start asking the deep questions that will transform their lives. So that's what happened to me. I faced that
Okay.
experience 5 years ago, and I just began reading. And let me tell you, my my life began to change. And little miracles, things that we may take for granted, and things that we overlook every day, they were little miracles just popping up. And my kids would laugh at me when I do
Mm-hmm.
these things. Like, for example, reaching to work after 8 when I'm supposed to be there at 8, and claiming a parking spot. Because once you reach 8 o'clock or after 8, usually all the parking space is taken up.
Okay.
And quite often on that journey, when I reach after 8, I would claim it. I would say, okay, there's a park waiting for me. And believe it or not, every time I
As
did
a
it,
part.
almost out of 100% of the time, yeah, there's a park waiting for me. When I go to the malls or anywhere
Mm-hmm.
and it's crowded, I would make a joke and say, okay, the director is here, right? The mall manager is here. You all need to make space for me. And you would find a car just driving out, reversing out of their parking space, and bam, some of the closest spots. And I laugh. Simple things, and these are small miracles that we tend to
Mm-hmm.
overlook when we are not conscious and we are not
Right.
awake.
True.
But it's when you become conscious and awake of these things, then
Mm-hmm.
then you express more gratitude and you appreciate the little and simple things in life. So that
Okay.
that experience led me to start writing. So during
Mm-hmm.
COVID, apart from planting, I took I took the opportunity to start writing because writing was a form of therapy for me. And
Mm-hmm.
trying to shut out all the negative and the conspiracy theories and everything that was happening outside, I began
Mm-hmm.
writing. So they said
Okay.
there's a book in all of us based on my experience, which was 5 years based. Yeah, that was 5 years in the making. I started to
Mm-hmm.
write. Now, trust me,
Excellent.
again, that's a process. It's not as easy as you may think. Now, writing is
Mm-hmm.
not. It was a very humbling experience, but it's worth it. So I began
Okay.
writing, and the amount of changes that it went through from the first thing I began to write to what it is now, it went through
Mm-hmm.
so many iterations.
Right.
And to see what it has become and how it's shaping, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a joy. And it's
Nice.
almost there, right? We are now on that platform, the publisher platform. The book
Right.
campaign was launched at the beginning of this month,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And I mean, the book is up for pre-order right now. It
Right.
addresses mainly the issues that the men are facing. So this book was written with men in mind.
Great. So
Yeah,
we get into the meat of things because our show is usually between 30 to 35, and I don't want the most important thing to be missed. So we understand what the experience was, but let's talk about the bonuses of pre-ordering a copy of your book because it is with men in mind. So let's talk a bit more about the men, that aspect of men in mind, and let's also get into the bonuses of pre-ordering. Guys, I ordered my copy already. You need to get in on this. So, coach, let's talk about the bonuses or the pre-ordering, and then we can go back a bit about the men in mind because I want to sell it to the guys because we had so many gentlemen on tuning tonight.
definitely. So right, the book was launched on the 1st of March, and the campaign
Mm-hmm.
is running until the 31st of March, which is only 7 days remaining. So it ends next week, Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Okay.
It's on the Publishizer platform. I believe we are going to share the link, or Ayana has the link, or anyone who wants the link to join or jump on that platform, feel free to
I will
ask
get it.
or send a message, right? So
Okay.
it's a great platform. You can pre-order your copy right now, and what you get are some really attractive bonuses. You get a free coaching session where we can go through my experience of writing a book. There are different chapters in the book that I cover, so we can do like what is personal development is one coaching session. We have the role of a coach. We all need a coach. Ayana, you can
Mm-hmm.
testify. I can testify. Even though I am aspiring to be a personal development coach, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I work, I accept coaching in my life. And just
Mm-hmm.
today, I had a conversation with someone that I am seeking her expert advice from. and she's helped me along on this journey of writing my book and branding and marketing and everything. And listen, it's not always easy hearing from a
Oh,
coach the things that you know, too happy to hear. But hey, we need a coach because guess what? And this is in the book as well. We all have a blind side. We all have a blind side, and it's a blind side that tends to keep us from discovering our purpose and rediscovering our self-identity. So these are the stumbling blocks to becoming the best version of ourselves. So
okay.
the bonuses are available until next week, Wednesday, the 31st. You pre-order your copy, and these are the bonuses you get. Your name is going to be mentioned or acknowledged on the acknowledgement page. This is
Okay.
your opportunity to make this book a bestseller coming out of Trinidad and Tobago. And your name will be included in the acknowledgement page. You get an ebook, you get the hard copy when it comes out, you get a 30-minute minimum coaching session, and you get a free invitation to the book launch when that time comes around as well. So there are some attractive bonuses. There are 5 packages in all, right? Starting from 1 book straight up to 20 books. So if you're part of an organization, a motivational group, an
Right.
inspirational group, or you have a business and you want to encourage your staff members, hey, you can order 8 books to 20 books.
Great. I
Yeah.
actually posted the link on
But you have
Facebook
only
and
until
YouTube.
next week Wednesday.
Yes, guys, you have until next week, Wednesday.
Right.
I've posted a link
Yeah.
on Facebook and YouTube. Go check it out. Like I said, I have pre-ordered. My family members have pre-ordered. A few friends as well has pre-ordered. Go for it. No, I didn't want to get lost in everything where you were talking that it was for men because it was with men in mind. Can you give us a little bit about that aspect of it before we close off?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I mean, the question begs again, um, what is the role of a man? And that question is to the forefront once again based on things that we see happening right here in Trinidad and around the world. You know, the world and everybody need to men need to accept responsibility for their lives. Okay? Too often we hear that men are dodging the bullet, they are not taking up their responsibilities in life. We want men to speak, right? Because we always say that men don't, talk much, they don't get their feelings out and everything. But yet still society, when a man speaks about his feelings, they tend to look at him, hey, hey, be a man, right? You shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be talking like that. And,
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z, and they'll label him X, Y, and Z. So while
Mm-hmm.
we are asking men to be open about their feelings and emotions and the things that
Mm-hmm.
are bothering them, yet
Mm-hmm.
still the norm of society is telling them to stay quiet and be a
Mm.
man, man up,
Yes, don't
right?
cry.
Men tough
Mm-hmm.
up, don't cry, toughen up.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all labels that contribute to the problem that men
Right.
experience from day to day. And it
Right.
usually plays out in some
Mm-hmm.
very sad, ways and everything. So
Yeah.
let me just touch on 1 or 2 chapters in the book.
Sure. Definitely.
Definitely, one of the chapters is what is personal development, the role of a
Okay.
coach. We all
Mm-hmm.
need a coach in life. I
Okay.
accept I'm a swim coach, but as well, I have been training some guys to swim recently. And guess what we do? We go and we do recreational swimming on the weekend, and there's no set of coaching taking place from my standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the pool with them, and they guide me as well. And just kind of be the third eye based on what I'm doing in terms of technique and everything. So
Right.
we all need a coach in life. And the truth is, Ayana, we are being coached
Mm-hmm.
every day, whether we accept it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, we are being coached unconsciously, and we don't realize it.
True.
We are
True.
coached unconsciously by the institution of the home, the workplace, the
Mm-hmm.
school,
Mm-hmm.
religious organizations. All these institutions, they coach us. But is
Not
it
to forget
conscious?
social media.
Social media? Yeah, because we are in a consumer driven world,
Mm-hmm.
information driven world, and we are
Yes.
just accepting things. Now the
Yep.
brain,
That's true.
yeah, the brain now is working overtime. It's an
Mm-hmm.
overload. And we have to
Mm-hmm.
find ways to filter what is positive and discard what is negative,
Mm-hmm.
But people are finding it more difficult to separate facts, right, from feelings and
Mm-hmm.
emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
we look at a coach, and then we look at the four elements of the human experience, and then we
Mm-hmm.
look at four dimensions of self, which is the open self, the blind self, the hidden self, and the unknown self. As like I
Okay.
mentioned before, two of those um, dimensions are what prevents you from realizing your dreams, your goals,
Mm-hmm.
and then moving forward. It keeps you
Mm-hmm.
stuck, the blind and hidden self. And until you could be real and open up
Yes.
about things in your life
Right.
through the services of a coach or a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
well, then you're
Yes.
stuck in life. So it's very important. And then we close off with the seven personal master keys that will equip you with the
Right.
skills and the skill set
Mm-hmm.
and the exercises that will take you much further and keep you on the right course.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's excellent. So what could you ask for more? You
So
have the guiding
that's the
principles, right, and stuff like that. Now, Amelia wrote, she must commend coach as men often see love as a form of weakness, and loving yourself is the foundation of loving others. Well said, Amelia. Well said. Well said. So I have up the link to pre-order Fly. Guys,
definitely.
finally love
Definitely.
yourself. It's on publisher.com/fly dash finally dash love dash yourself dash one backslash. Go get your copy. Um, we have other persons saying excellent stuff here. They're enjoying the show. And the men are outshining the women tonight. They're really on board. So, Coach, I think you helped grow my viewership a bit on the mail. So, we're getting a lot of positive feedback.
That's good.
And I mean, we're at 42 minutes, and usually I might wrap up
Good.
for like about 30 or so. So, it's been a really excellent conversation thus far. So, before we finally close off, any last words of advice? I mean, you have given so many great nuggets tonight.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, definitely. Tell the viewership out there, listen, with regards to the book, you have 7 days. Pre-order your copy. There are some great exercises at the end of the seven chapters the seven personal master keys. There are some great exercises at the end. You have some great bonuses to capture, right? Only
Mm-hmm.
7 days left. But I want to say, whatever your journey is, appreciate your journey. The ups, the downs, the ins, the outs, accept your journey. It is yours. It was given to you because you and you alone can do it. So appreciate the journey. Don't just focus on the destination. Listen, you don't lose in life. What you get are some valuable lessons, and you're going to become another or higher version of yourself. So just trust the journey, depend on a source that is much higher than you, the universal power, the universal intelligence. Trust in that power and listen to your intuition, listen to your heart, right? And listen to your mind. Learn how to manage your energy, learn how to manage the elements of the human body machinery, and everything will be okay. You'll become the version that you want to become.
Mm-hmm. Well, someone is asking, are deliveries available for the book?
Yes, the book will be delivered once a pre-order is made. When the actual book is published, right? Because now I failed to mention Trinidad and Tobago. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Once the pre-orders rise, if I hit 500 by next Wednesday, right, the book is going to be pitched to 92 traditional international publishers. That's 92 traditional
Wow.
international publishers. So just
Wow.
imagine your name in the acknowledgement page in this book around the world. And like I said, like I told people already, God is going to take this book where He needs to take it. I am very confident in the message. Of course, there are some iterations to be made, but the book will be delivered once you
Mm-hmm.
pre-order. There's a tracking system of all who pre-orders the book, name, contact, everything, email address, and everything. So your name can be
Okay.
added to the book on the acknowledgement page.
Okay. Now, thank you so much again, Coach. And I would say this in closing, in having conversations with you about Fly and how your perspective on certain things. I think I had mentioned it to you in 2019. I decided to also write a book, and I never got around to it. But I started this week. So
Awesome.
I'm open to stick with it and let me see where it goes.
Awesome.
I don't know how long it may take. It may take a few years, a few months. I'm not too sure. But you actually inspired me to start writing, right?
That's
I have
awesome.
had friends over the years always tell me, "You need to write a book. You and your stories, and you and your life and
Yeah.
whatever." So I'm
Yeah.
actually taking a gander at it, and I'm excited to see where it will lead. And it's because of you. You actually gave me that final push to do that, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for actually being on the show tonight, bringing out these gentlemen. They actually, I mean, they were responsive. They were getting involved in the conversation and stuff like that. So I am so excited to see where F.L.Y is going to go. Honest to God, and like you said, God is going to take it. I totally believe in that. I will claim that with you as well. One thing that you said that really, I mean, you said so much, but what I love is the little miracles we need to pay attention to. And so many great things happen to us on a daily basis, and we would not even acknowledge it or notice it. And it's very simple things, right? You when you talk about the parking spot, is simple things, and I find myself I try to pay attention to them, and I will say thank you, Lord, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Father God. Some little thing that will happen, I will say thank you because it could have gone another way. As little as it is, as simple as it is, and I can understand. You're speaking that point in your life where you experience something and it puts you on that path. So many of us can attest to that, whether we acknowledge it, whether we are actually privy to it, we know that it is or not, but things have happened. And I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate all of you have done for my family and myself in swimming. I mean, you actually got Amelia to go from one end to the next. Kudos. Um, I know she's going to knock me for that, but thank you so much, and for your patience, especially. And I am excited about the book, and good things are going to come. I'm sure about it.
Thank
So,
you, Ayana.
guys,
Thank you.
we're going to close off tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight. Take care. God bless and keep safe.
Have a good night, everyone.